This is an OSU update. I'm Jenny Carlson here with OSU basketball writer Nathan Ruiz. Nathan, Mike Boynton, well, he was out at the Capitol on Monday at the statewide teacher walkout supporting teachers, but before that, he was on his way to St. Louis to visit pretty big-time recruit, point guard, by the way, right?
Yeah, anytime you have 5 open scholarships, you're going to be a busy guy. So right now, Mike Boynton in pursuit of Courtney Ramey, 4-star point guard out of St. Louis. #1 player in Missouri, #9 point guard in the country, and #40 player in the country according to 24/7 Sports. So really talented kid. A lot of different schools are after him. Right now it seems that his top 3 has kind of been whittled down. He hasn't announced this, but it seems like OSU, Texas, and Missouri seem to be the prize fighters here. Illinois was in on him as well. Recently landed a grad transfer point guard, so maybe that's them saying, hey, we need to have someone at that spot, so we're going to get this grad transfer and move on from Ramey. Obviously, if he were to head Brad Underwood's way, I'm sure Underwood would gladly take him. But Mike Boynton right now trying to fill out a roster. Only next season we'll have 4 returning players who played minutes, scholarship players who played minutes for the Cowboys last season after some surprising exits, some not so surprising exits. So Mike Boynton's in a situation now where he's got to fill out a roster for 2018-2019.
You mentioned Brad Underwood. Both he and Boynton were like there almost at the same time. You think they leg wrestled, arm wrestled? Did anything to rekindle old times that when they coached together?
You know, it's my understanding they still get along pretty well.
Right.
So I don't know for sure, but maybe something will come of it. Maybe we don't know.
Had a cup of coffee instead or something like that. Okay, you mentioned grad transfers. Obviously, that's been a talk with those volume of open scholarships that Oklahoma State has. It seems like there's a lot of grad transfers out there. It's just become the nature of college basketball. And with those open scholarships, it seems like Oklahoma State's been linked. Is that just how it's going to be when you've got that many open spots?
I think so, just naturally, especially with the youth. You need that experience. I think if you added 5 high school guys, you're going to have a really young team, a team that's going to have some growing pains. I think we saw it with Kendall Smith this season. OSU adds a graduate transfer, and he goes in there and is able. It took him a bit of an adjustment period, but once he settles in, he was a really important piece for OSU. So I think that maybe sets a tone, and maybe some graduate transfers see these success Kendall Smith had and are able to say, hey, I can go there and I can do that same thing. So it seems that every other grad transfer, you're seeing has drawn interest from Oklahoma State, And it makes sense just given the situation. OSU, again, trying to fill 5 open scholarships. And I don't know that they'll necessarily fill all of them. Not necessarily, maybe we see another midseason addition, another midseason transfer. But OSU's in a situation now where, again, it has a roster to fill out. Mike Boynton out there recruiting every opportunity he has, trying to get these different guys. And I think there's a lot of different, as you mentioned, a lot of different options out there available to him. And I think in a way, this offers him an opportunity to kind of show the kind of players he's looking for. We already have kind of an idea when you look at the players he's already brought in Kendall Smith, Michael Weathers, Curtis Jones, some really athletic guards. You look at the 2 scholarship players he's already signed out of high school, and Duncan DeMuth and Yor Nye, those are 2 athletic forwards. So we have an idea of maybe what he's starting to look for, but this gives him kind of an opportunity to really quickly reshape the roster in an image that he'd like it to be built in. And that's not to say he doesn't like the guys he already has, but it gives him an opportunity to really pursue the pieces that he wants down the line.
You mentioned with these open spots, he may not fill all of them with grad transfers, but he could fill a lot. It seems to me, Nathan, with the grad transfer situation, that coaches aren't as worried about taking on a volume. And it used to be if a coach brought in a lot of junior college players, it might be like, oh, this is a problem. I don't get the sense like coaches are that worried about bringing in, whether it's 2, 3 more potentially grad transfers. I don't know. Is it just because there's a sense that there's going to continue to be these grad transfers? And yes, you want to fill in maybe with high school players, but this isn't some sort of evil if you have several grad transfers on your team? Yeah,
I think it's a situation when you're bringing in someone with a lot of experience. You look at Kendall Smith, again, he's a guy who had played 4 years of college basketball, or I guess 3 years with a red shirt. But you're adding a piece who has experience at the Division I level more often than not. With a JUCO guy, you never know whether it was an academic situation that sent it there, maybe they needed some development. But with a graduate transfer, you're getting a guy who has a ton of experience. So I think it makes sense for OSU to be able to add that option. If you land a guy like Courtney Ramey, a guy who's a 4-star prospect, you probably could put him there in that point guard situation, maybe compete with Michael Weathers early in the season to be OSU starting point guard. But if you're able to land a graduate transfer, that's someone with a ton of experience, someone who knows what they're doing and who knows what collegiate basketball is like. Anytime you move from one level to the next, there's going to be an adjustment period, and that's going to happen within Division I basketball as well. If you're Kendall Smith going from Cal State Northridge to Oklahoma State, there's going to be an adjustment. But going from high school to Oklahoma State and playing the Big 12 is a totally different level of things. So I think the reason the college basketball has seen this adjustment with graduate transfers is the understanding of the veteran experience they bring in that understanding of basketball they already have.
All right, we'll continue to follow, obviously, all of these recruiting trail stories, where Oklahoma State might be getting players for next season, where Mike Boynton might be headed next. So be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.